Well, I just have to say, to acknowledge a few people in this room. Everybody in this room has made a difference in my life. So I want to say that first of all. And thank you so much for being here. It's really a fun gig, and it's a beautiful space. Thank you, Stan Jones, for doing that. And it's just wonderful to be here. You've already met Leanne. All of this and all of my work in independent living for 20 years is her fault. Because she did go to work for the state, and then we had a federal bill that got reauthorized, which allowed independent living councils, on which I was a volunteer for 8 years, to become nonprofit consumer-controlled organizations. And she helped that to happen. And she is the person who said, "You apply for that job, Pat Puckett." And so I did, and I felt like my state had finally grown up and had a place for me. Because for the previous 20 years of my work was about able-bodied, non-disabled people doing for, right? And this was about doing with and doing for yourself. So it was, it really did feel like my state had finally found a spot for me. And it was really nice because I had spent the previous decade in running my own consulting business. I call that my decade of self-unemployment. Because I did not get wealthy. And every so often I would stop and take a look at how I was spending my time, and it was mostly volunteer work in the state. Does that tell you why I did not get wealthy? So at any rate, it's Leanne's fault that I got involved in independent living, and I appreciate her enormously for it. And of course, the other person that you've already met is Mark Johnson. Mark Johnson introduced me to the street work of advocacy. And again, I felt like, damn, why I hadn't been doing this all my life? Because it so fits who I am. And it really is. I mean, there have been some times when we've really made some really pretty interesting progress on things. And one of my favorite things to have happen is when the police help you. Because I remember being at the apartment association. Where's Debbie? She had to go. Okay. So Debbie Phillips works with the apartment association. So we were at the apartment association fussing at them around about not implementing the requirements of fair housing. They were still constructing inaccessibly, right? And so we were fussing all over at them, and so the cops show up to take us off, and I said, look, all we want is a meeting with the apartment association. That's all we want, officer. Is that so much to ask? I'll be danged if he didn't go in there. And we got a meeting within 10 minutes. He didn't want to take us off. You know, he really didn't, because how was he going to arrest us in the first place? I mean, you know, the one time that we got arrested in Atlanta was after the list had been put on buses, and they put us all on big city buses. And that's how we got arraigned, on the bus, because we couldn't get in the courthouse. So it was really a lot of fun. So those two people I wanted to acknowledge, and then I also have to say a bit about Dottie Adams. Dottie Adams is the mother. She's the mother of quilts that represent the history of our state, and she made the quilt that's over there at the over there, and that's 25 years of disability rights T-shirts in our state. So it's at least 4 sentences in jails for me that are on that quilt. And then the final person, the most important person to me right now is my fiance. That's not that y'all are not important, it's just he's the most. And so we dated in 1969 and found one another again about 4 years ago, I think it was. And what his recollection in 1969 is, what I recollect is that he proposed to me and I got scared. What he recollects is that I ruined the reverse in his Corvair. And so, it was on his birthday about 2 years ago that he put the vintage ring on my vintage hand, and we don't know when the wedding is going to happen, but nevertheless, he's the love of my life, and I appreciate him so much. And I just want to say one last thing. I was a crip first. I rescued him from a hospital and brought him home and nursed him back to health. That's what I did. And then he assumed his rightful role, that the role for which God intended him, my cabana boy. So he spent 3 years as my cabana boy, and it was very stressful apparently because he struck out. So that's my man, and I just want to thank there's a couple of people who come from very far away. Annie McDaniel, and Shannon is from Kansas City, and Annie is from West Virginia. They're my sisters. We call them my Yaya sisters because we had the same job. And there was a man in the group also, but he couldn't come tonight. But we call him the Yo-Yo. So they have come the furthest, I think, to be with me. So thank you ever so much. And we got Meryl over there. Meryl Friedman is my all-time favorite person who works for a very large company called Amerigroup. Oh no, it's called Anthem now. I get mixed up, so I call it a marathon. So she's one of the sponsors for tonight too. Thank you very much, Meryl, and I'm not going to make you talk so much you hate it. So anyway, we appreciate you very much. So have fun, and I'm glad you came, and thank you so much for all your sponsorship and your hard work.